An idea is like a virus, resilient, highly contagious, and even the smallest seed of an idea can grow. It can grow to define or destroy you. Kind of like Lou Diamond.
Would you like to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Speakeasy and master connector Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on this planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another spectacular, fantabulous, absolutely awesome episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond, and today on Thrive Loud, get ready, get set, because we have the modern female Buddha. She's the founder of meta spirituality and emerging spiritual tradition, taking America by storm. She believes that one can change your core identity by revolving all spiritual practices, rituals, techniques, and tools to achieve true communion with the source in days. For our listeners, let's get meta here and connect with Nina Verkoeyen. Nina, welcome to Thrive Loud.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. Thank you for such a beautiful introduction.
Well, I didn't have anything really that difficult to do. I've got someone who's got great story behind her, great, interesting work that you do. I know a little bit about it. We teased it at the beginning, but here's what I want to do. I want you to share with the listeners a little rewind. I don't want to rewind all the way back to the very beginning. I want to learn how the thing you're doing now became your gig.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Since 2016, since that day when I actually received that knowledge from within, I'm so passionate about sharing it. And this is my main life purpose. This is what I think, breathe, do, express. Is just my life now. I'm very excited and passionate about it.
Okay. So help me understand how you recognize this. Like, what was that calling that came inside, if you could describe it as best as you can, because I would love to understand how this emerged and just what were you doing before that?
Yeah, well, before that, for many decades, like for a couple decades, I've been doing all sorts of spiritual practices like meditations, visualizations, everything you can think about. But nothing really gave me results, just of course it would change me a little bit. It would give some consolation. It would eliminate stress a little bit, like meditations do, but nothing radically changed, and my life still wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. I had struggles in relationships. I had some conflicts going on all the time. I had financial problems, just like a regular human being. But then everything changed the day I kind of got this awakening. And it wasn't because of some spiritual practice that I received it. It was just a spontaneous revelation out of the blue. I don't know, we can call it a blessing, we can call it whatever we want to call it, but that was absolutely spontaneous. I didn't take any substances. It wasn't during some meditation or some deep breath work or anything. I asked myself a question that evening, like I was contemplating on some existential question, so to speak. What is love? And I really was just walking around the house. I was alone that evening, kind of ruminating on this. And then suddenly everything shifted and I received the answer, but the answer not in words, but as a state of being. It's like everything got turned upside down and I felt absolutely different. I felt unity with everything there is. I felt it was absolutely crazy experience, to be honest. It's so difficult to even put it in words, but I guess this is what people feel maybe when they take some, I don't know, plant medicine or something. I've never done that, so I can't really compare, but from what I hear from people, this is what they sometimes experience, this unity, we're all one, they feel this interconnectedness of all, they feel clarity, suddenly their life is, they can make sense of what's happening to them, why, but that happened to me without taking any substances or without any spiritual practices, and it changed everything.
So when it changed everything for you, and literally to your point, it changed your core identity.
Yes.
You had your problems or issues before like anybody else. Okay. When you want to describe yourself today to me or to our listeners, how would you say you are? What's your core identity today?
I identify with the creator, with that shared bigger higher self that we all share. And no longer I see myself as a separate being, separate from everybody, separate from you, separate from my husband, separate from some random stranger. I still carry this memory within me. It's not the same feeling as it was during that experience, because that experience was completely almost impossible to maintain and sustain. But it's like, I like to give this example. It felt like suddenly finding yourself on the top of the Mount Everest.
Okay.
Like you kind of got teleported there, and you can see the 360-degree view of everything, and everything makes sense, and you know all the answers to all the questions. Whatever comes to your mind, you have absolute clarity. You feel absolutely fantastic, and you feel unity with everyone, and you see every other human being as your reflection, as your extension. So am I to you and every other human being. So we are one on this level, and we have like one shared soul or one shared higher self. But then it's impossible to live and stay on the peak of Mount Everest. The conditions are not conducive to everyday living.
It's cold up there, and you can't get it like a good pizza or anything like that. You can't
really be there. So I had to go down, and naturally happened during that week. It wasn't actually just a momentarily awakening. It was like a week-long experience. I was in that state for several days, and it was gradually dissipating with each day. I was kind of gradually going back to my kind of separate self, but I was never the same, because I knew that I no longer am separate from everybody. So now I am kind of visibly a separate human being, but I still carry that knowledge, that knowing who I truly am and who we all truly are. And yes, this is a different self-identification. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go deep here.
Yeah.
Who are we? Who are we? From maybe, if in the best way that you can describe it, obviously, I believe we're all connected in certain ways, but I want to understand how you see us after this experience.
Yeah, I have another metaphor. Imagine a huge octopus. Gigantic. Its head is so big, it's impossible for us to see it. And we are the tentacles of this octopus. Huge universal octopus. So we as tentacles, as those legs of the octopus, we see each other and we think that we're all separated from each other because we don't see where we connect. But in fact, who we truly are, and that's the answer to your question, we are not those tentacles. It is also us, but it's kind of our arms and legs and our extensions. We are that head, that command center. Our true self is in that head, which is invisible to us when our consciousness is down on the level of the separate legs, right? But if for some reason or somehow through some practices or through some spontaneous awakening, our consciousness moves from the leg of the octopus to its head and realizes all this unity and oneness and true nature of who we are, then you kind of know who you are. You're still that leg. You still operate as that leg. You look as that leg, but you know that you're not just that leg. And you identify with the head, not with the leg.
And now it's not, I'm imagining, going on a limb here, no pun intended, that we're not only talking about humans, we're talking about all souls. We're talking about everything
Yes,
on the planet, all
everything.
living things.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Everything.
we're all part of one living organisms on this planet or in this
Right.
world or in this sphere.
Right.
Um, Knowing this
Hmm.
and understanding this greater purpose, what are some of the other key things that helps us understand in the messages that you work from in the work that you do with meta spirituality,
Hmm.
helping others understand what the benefits are of this as it relates to, I guess, some of the things that we do in the tentacles of life and how we can accommodate that. So I'm asking the modern female Buddha a little bit of advice. How can we utilize this information, this wealth of knowledge to our benefit and how we live and breathe each day?
Yeah, well, in order to utilize it, first we need to actually accept this knowledge,
Okay.
not on the level of our human mind, because it's not enough to just be told, you're God, you're everything, we're all one. These words are very abstract and they will not actually transform you. If you're ready, if you've been searching for quite some time and you've been actually preparing yourself internally to receive that truth, it might land where it needs to and transform you. But for many people, whatever I say initially is it's just, just an idea. And ideas don't really change you. It needs to kind of sink down from the level of our ego mind, where we process information, to the level of our whole being or heart, whatever we call it. Some
Right.
will call it into your heart, some will call it into your everything, somewhere deeper. Let's put it like this. And then when you actually accept this knowledge, when you no longer treat it as some fancy ideology or some different concept that you can work with, when you actually accept it, then your identity is transformed, and then you start looking at everything in the world through the different eyes of that different identity. And then you will see change on the outside, not before. And it's not happening immediately. So it's not like a magic pill for many people who didn't go through this spontaneous transformation, which I believe happens when you're so exhausted, tired, and fed up with, all the spiritual tools that are not actually working, and your inner intention to know the truth of who you are is so strong. You just give this answer to yourself, basically. But you need to be ready for this. Yeah. So
So Nina, let's say um, there's got to be a practice, just as there's meditation or there's different ways on how not only can you accept it, no different than when you were at the top of Everest and you couldn't
no,
live up there.
no,
You
there's
have to
no
bring.
practice.
So there's no practice.
No, you can't practice that who you actually are, but you need to accept it. You need to kind of let it in. And your mind will resist. Your ego mind will not want to give up this old identity of who we know ourselves to be, you know. So I do that by first starting with kind of cleansing the old ideas, fake ideas of who we are, and ideas of what spirituality is and what spiritual practices can give you, because we are so used to relying on spiritual intermediaries, such as spiritual practices of all kinds. And we kind of equate spirituality and those practices. And we
Mhm.
consider ourselves spiritual if we practice meditation, visualization. But after my awakening, I realized that those are actually what maintains the separation between you and who you actually
Truly are.
are.
Okay.
Yeah. So I start with cleansing in my lectures in my main landmark program of meta spirituality. We start with the lectures that kind of, I don't know, like put a light on all those, what spiritual intermediaries are, who we are, just kind of cleansing, preparing the ground. And once it's all eliminated, and once you're open to receive the new, you kind of realize that it has always been there. It was just clouded with other
So
concepts.
so am I still talking to Nina?
Yes,
And
of course.
well, that's
Yeah.
what, so we have our, what I get is we have our individual identity to who we are as this the uh figure that's here on this planet, but we have a spiritualness to us that's an energy that's all connected, or that's part of a much bigger thing, part of the head of the octopus, if you would. And accepting and understanding that is, in a sense, just maybe it probably relieves stress. It probably relieves, because it's not focused on I'm just the tentacle and I have to do all these different things. I'm part of a much bigger spiritual thing that's got an evolution, a life, a beginning, a middle, an end, or another life onto it, which I guess is where I get to, as it relates to our spirit and this huge, massive octopus that we're all part of. This form that we're in right now, this is where we're living. Does it keep living on? Did we live before? Is it all just part of one cycle?
What keeps living on is the head.
Okay.
And if you realize yourself as the head, you never die because your consciousness is there. But our body will die, and it's not reincarnating anywhere because there's nothing and nowhere to reincarnate if everything is
up in the head.
Always. Yeah.
Okay. And by the way, I've seen, there's so many different forms of life and things that if you tried to connect it all, getting the bigger picture is always a challenge, right?
Yeah.
But helping it's not so much about unwinding all the things that people know, because there's some benefits to doing certain things, like to take care of the body that you're in right now, to live as long as it is something that's important. To take care of the mind is important.
Of course.
Nina, how do you live your life in a way that embraces the identity you are, but also recognizes the leg of the arm that you still have to be and still have to live? Is there really this bifurcation that happens, or it's just I'm accepted of what it is and how you live your life, and why, like, you're choosing now to share this message, this meta spirituality with everyone, which is kind of a message that's inside of a piece, even though it's understanding this bigger picture. Help me understand, like, a little bit of the day in the life of Nina. I want to understand what goes on inside that soul.
It's just constantly keeping this remembrance of who you are and trying to see every situation, every moment of your life, whatever it presents itself as, through the eyes of not your separate self, not the leg, but through the eyes of who you know and remember yourself to be in truth. So you can say that this is a practice, but if you change your self-identification, then it's not a practice, it's like expression of who you are. And you should just remember to express who you truly are, not who you believed yourself to be before.
I like it. It's really just be. Isn't it really? That's really what it is.
Yeah, but it's so simple, but so difficult to understand and apply, right?
Well, and I think that's my last question before I want to peel back the layers and learn a little bit more about Nina specifically. But the biggest challenge is there's a lot of noise, right? There's a lot of noise surrounding us, a lot of different beliefs, a lot of different practices, a lot of different things that I guess at the general core of it, if you accepted your belief and the way that we really are, and what's hit you is this way of being, that in doing that, then everything else could technically fall underneath it and can also be practiced, or whatever it might be. I'm not saying practice. You can utilize all these other techniques as well with that as an underlying core. Is that something that makes sense?
You can, if you want to, but chances are you won't really want or need it, because instead of like working on our mind's issues or programs, you just realize that this issue doesn't exist anymore, because so many things, they just fall off. The fake, everything in us just dissipates when we start looking at the world through these new eyes of our new identity that merged both your personal separate self and the head of the octopus.
Now I'm going to ask the tough one.
Yeah.
Love. This is where it all started. This is where it all started.
Okay. Love, God, these are synonyms, because the main energy, the main state of being, the main feeling, for the lack of a better word, is that love that comes from realizing that you're not separate from others, so you don't need to defend yourself, you don't need to be aggressive. You can't be, if you know that this is your extension, reflection, this is actually just you, presented in different shapes and forms, and everything that happens within that those relationships is just your dialogue with yourself, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So the aggression, the like being offended, it might not like necessarily completely be gone, but it definitely is just not that strong in us anymore when we accept that identity.
I don't know when you met your husband, but
2 weeks right after the knowledge.
right. So right after the
Knowledge
knowledge.
came to me 2 weeks later. For 33 years before that, I had like terrible relationships on and off, on and off. I thought I'll never have a family. I thought I will not have kids. I kind of, I was in a different state. But 2 weeks after I met my husband, the same month I started making more than I ever made before financially, because it was clear for me what to do, how to do, what's my intention, what's my motivation. And I didn't have any inner conflicts between spiritual and material anymore. Like, so many things changed and shifted. So it truly did change my life. That's why I'm so passionate about it.
A lot of people will argue and hear this out for a second. I'm trying to put the right words into this, but I'm a big believer in that each of us has our own purpose, our own specific, like, so those tentacles have a certain
Right.
purpose
Okay.
or a passion. Where there's
Okay.
something that we did, your
Mhm.
passion is sharing this message or calling. It's a calling, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Um, and and at the underlying piece of this, everybody has unique callings and superpowers, if you would, that all fall underneath it. Is it any way of thinking that all of those things cumulatively all together, all the different ways and things that all roll up to that very big octopus head, that we're all helping to contribute to?
Yeah, you can say it this way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I think is interesting is, as much as we're all part of one higher power, right?
Mhm.
And love is such that feeling or emotion, in any way you want to take the emotions of a higher power, a God, a love, or whatever it might be. There's some real value in what's inside of us. Everyone always says this. It's the same thing. Like, there's definitely some direct streamline straight from us into this thing. I keep thinking more of the stuff I've seen in the movie Avatar, of what you're describing, which is,
Yeah.
like that
Okay.
same idea, that concept. And that was a tree with all the little tentacles, and everybody was part of the tentacles, and everything cycled
Yeah.
around. And we're all part of that big head of energy that we're all sharing, which I totally get. And I think it's in line with this. Do you think that many other people like yourself have also had a chance to sit at the top of Mount Everest and get a glimpse into this and have interpreted it in different ways?
Yeah, oh, totally. I see it every day. Yeah, people get this unity for a second or two, but then they misinterpret it with their ego mind when they're back. And that's why the message is kind of distorted a bit in a different way,
Because we get in our own way.
Yes, exactly. But going back to your question about the purpose, I still do believe truly that our main purpose of each leg is to realize their true self. And once you realize that you are that head, that's our main mission of every single human being. Oh, yeah. But then, knowing who you are, you then express who you are through the medium which you, as a combination of a identity and the creator within you, actually love. So through the channel in which love flows better for your particular individual self, maybe you love, I don't know, spreading the message about the truth, or maybe you love doing podcasts or whatever. Wherever the love flows better for you as an individual, that's kind of a secondary mission, how we express ourselves and who we are.
I love it. Here's what I want to do. I want to do the admin part of the show. Share with the listeners all the places people can learn about you, where they can tap into you. You got a whole bunch of programs and stuff. We'll put it all in the show notes, but it gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
I actually only invite people for the free webinar, free masterclass, which is located on the main page of my website, meta-spirituality.org. And when people watch this free masterclass, they have a better idea whether this message resonates with them or not. And then we can take it from there. So I invite you to watch this free masterclass first.
Awesome. We will put that link in. Listeners, go to the site, check it out. We'll get there. I want to learn a little bit more about Nina here. Is it okay if we kind of pull back the layers a little bit? Just a couple.
Don't ask me the movie questions.
Don't ask you what the movie question.
No,
Well, before I get to the
no.
movie question, I have an interesting question. And I think I know where the answer is going to go. But look, even if we've accepted the beliefs that you've had and had a chance to understand, we know who we are and what our core is. We do have days when the tentacle is a little off. It's not quite fluttering the
Yeah.
way it should. We all have days where we're not quite thriving.
Yes.
When you have trouble thriving, Nina, is
Hmm.
there a practice that you seek or an individual you seek out to get yourself
Hmm.
back on the thriving track?
No, I noticed that the only days or times when I can't maintain the remembrance is when my physical body is compromised. For example, I didn't have a good sleep. I'm hungry. I'm kind of, when your body's needs are not fulfilled, you kind of fall more into your body with your consciousness and you become more of your body. You're starting operating with those instincts. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I'm physically exhausted, and then you kind of don't remember who you are. So what helps me, or when that happens, I know, okay, I didn't take care of my body enough. So I'm just going to sleep earlier. I'm eating better, and then it all goes back.
Taking care of yourself, feeding the body
Yeah,
strengthens
yeah.
the soul. How about that?
Making the body know that it's still loved and taken care of, and then you can raise your consciousness back to the head and see everything again from that different perspective.
Love it. You ready to go down Fun Street with me here, Nina, on the show?
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
it.
All right. We're not asking you the movie question in the way that to pick a favorite one. But what I do want to ask you is there something you've seen? It could be a streaming TV show or a movie show, something you've seen that you really enjoyed, maybe even made you feel good.
I honestly I watch a lot of movies. It's just my way to like unwind from other activities, from my family duties and everything. I like to just get immersed into some other reality and learn from it. So mostly I will not tell you exact movies. I will just say that I love like psychological
Okay. The genre.
thrillers. Yeah, I'm a psychologist also in my kind of heart. That's my first like education. So I like mind bending and psychological type of movies.
I like
That's
it.
all. I enjoy them all. It just gives me food for thought, basically.
Speaking of food, does
Yeah.
Nina have a favorite food that's not a dessert?
Oh, I absolutely don't like sweets. That's an interesting thing. I never liked sweets. I don't know why. It's just not my thing. I actually would never order a dessert anywhere or have a dessert if
But
I'm not hungry.
what's your favorite meal though? If you have a go-to meal, I got to cook something up for you. Get one choice to pick. I'm going to make it for you. What is it?
I don't know, some good pasta, some good salad. I'm not super picky in this. Again, like food is not my uh, point of attention, has never been.
An activity you wish you did more of.
Probably meeting with friends.
Okay.
I'm very introverted and it's difficult for me to go and socialize.
An
Yeah.
activity you wish you did less of.
Hmm, I don't have any.
Okay.
I do
Somehow I
what I
figured
love.
that.
I love what I do. I'm pretty happy about that. There's nothing I don't like.
Is there something recently, an activity that you tried that you really, really enjoyed and want to tell everybody else to try as well? Something new that you tried.
No, I think I should, right? I think I should do more of some new things.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah, you should
idea.
always do more new things. You should always live
Yeah,
life to the
I
fullest.
kind of can think about anything, which
On
is
this planet, not in our spiritual planet. If I could snap my fingers and you could be anywhere in the world, where would you like to be?
I want to be back in Bali. Last
Ooh.
time I visited it was 10 years ago.
Mm,
Even before the knowledge came to me, I was a completely different person back then, and it was different there too. Not touristic, not crowded, not trendy as it is now, but I want to go back and see if it still feels as at home as it was back then, which impressed me a lot. It was very nourishing for my heart. So I want to be there. But it's far. That's why I don't travel there that often.
Everybody check it out. Nina Verkoeyen. She is at the Meta Spirituality. All the website links will be there. I love this idea, changing your core identity by removing all those practices. We've had a lot of people come on the program and talk about their practices, but we've never had anybody talk about just changing it all right up here, understanding who we really are. And I really kind of like that. So thank you so much for coming on Thrive Loud today.
Thank you so much, Lou. It was a pleasure. Very positive energy. I love it. Thank you.
To all of our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.